Hey, you guys, welcome to Cosmic Brew. This is an emergency drop. I had already had this eclipse thing I did and this other great episode I did. And this also talks about the eclipses, but not in the way that you think. And I got to drop this because there's so much fucking going on. I recorded a podcast. It's like 25 minutes that has to do with it's all cosmic alarm clock style. If you're familiar with that style, cool. It's a more brewed version of cosmic alarm clock. It's a lot of insights that have been steeped for a while and then boom. And then I literally look at my phone because these days I'm in creative. I'm in my cave and like freaking TikTok. Okay. Like the reason I'm releasing this episode is because I already did one when Uranus stationed in Gemini and we had all the crazy stuff. I'm trying not to sound manic on the mic because when I get excited, I talk fast and then I sound crazy. This is why I stopped drinking caffeine. I tried it this week and it was bad. Really, really bad. Uranus in Gemini, that's fast enough for me. Even in retrograde motion, it's fast. And so, okay, you guys, so the TikTok thing, so hello. And I recorded this whole episode. And while I was recording the episode, all this other crazy shit's happening. So now I'm going to come on here, which is cool. I'll do an intro and then tell you that the rest of the stuff is like news, all that kind of stuff, plus eclipse, plus what, it's the brew. But this one is definitely like news and stuff. And I had already said in one of the other episodes that's going to drop, that's now going to get pushed. And by the way, that big thing I was going to tell you on Monday about the eclipse, it's still in play. I mean, the first quarter moon isn't even until Sunday. So, the people who, if it affected you personally and you want to know, there's a reading in the show notes. They're still good. I've extended that till, did I come on here and tell you guys that? I extended it to 10/1. I think I did. And they're really delivered on 10/8. And that's just because, I don't know. I just feel like there's certain people who need to get them, and I'm leaving that availability open to people, and I'm leaving that door open. And you want to walk through it, you got it. It's in the show notes. People have had incredible success with this. So, I had mentioned in one of those that, hey, if you guys are new to me, I'll save it because it's for that. I talk about news and politics here, and some people don't like people who correlate astrology with news events and this and that. They can go somewhere else. I have something more intense to say about that, but I'm trying to be nice. Find another hobby because astrology is real. And I give some examples later in the show that illustrate that. And if you don't believe in mundane astrology, then don't listen to this podcast because it will be bringing in events. I didn't even put this together when this podcast relaunched, by the way. I mean, Gemini's news and gossip, which this isn't gossip, but it is kind of gossip. But you know what I'm saying? It's spilling the tea / gossip / let's sitting down at the adult table having a cup of coffee after the fucking cosmic alarm clock wake up call. See my speed? That's how fast I normally talk. Cosmic alarm clock wake up call. And now we're having a cup of coffee, but it's a strong cup of coffee because we are in a wake up and everyone else is waking up. And that's what I talk about later in this episode. But what happened since I recorded that literally is like freaking TikTok stuff going on. And something else was happening with Pam Bondi. But this is important. So we're going to go into that and then I'm going to do some kind of weird break. I'll figure out a way to do like it'll knit uglily, not cleanly. It'll knit to the next episode, the next part. And then the whole other one I said I was doing that came to me when, the big incident happened the day Uranus stationed, an eclipse, and there was a big mega event that happened in the US. I'm very careful because I don't know what YouTube's kind of weird. Then that will be a separate episode and I need to edit that because there are some things that I want to make sure that are not going to be a problem for me in the future. So, but of course, Uranus and Gemini, duality twins. Of course, there's got to be 2 episodes about Uranus and Gemini. I mean, what? And of course, there's not even any fucking point to doing historics because Uranus is the future. And the last time this happened was like I said, like whatever, the 40s, whatever, like who cares? Okay. Because in the 40s, we had a newspaper. And now look at the way I'm getting the news, which is what I'm going to be saying in part 2. But here's what happened. So we can get to part 2. I've learned on threads about TikTok. I give the examples in the latter part of the episode about how I learned about all the other things. The point is the information is coming at us from every fucking angle. So fast. I recorded an episode and yes, it's eclipse season. So eclipse be eclipsing. Okay. But I couldn't even keep up. And what you want to be paying attention to is the forms of communication that came in and the way it came in. So, okay, that happened with the TikTok thing. First of all, the TikTok thing, I'm talking a lot about how when Uranus goes into Gemini, we're going to find new ways of like social media as we know it is dead. It is dying. It is dead. Okay. It is. Go on Instagram if you don't believe that. And I did a whole thing on Neptune and Pisces, and these episodes are, I've unhid the stuff. I've unhid the stuff on my main channel because there's receipts there that I'm like, fuck it. Fuck the algorithm. I want my receipts. And I talked about the news and how Neptune can be the delusion. And we've been living under delusion, and people are waking up and now they're trying to control the delusion. I'll just state one thing and then I'll say it in the next episode. When I talk about Uranus, is like, I woke up the day after that big thing happened on that campus with that individual, and like the New York Times was like, we're all mourning this person. And it was like so weird. Like, think about the demographic of the New York Times. I'm like, who put this on here? Not everyone is mourning this individual. Okay, enough said. And there's all this other fucking crazy shit. I'm like, we are living, and people are talking about it now. Comedians are talking about it now. Celebrities are talking about it. What's his name? The guy who, Stephen Colbert, gets up on stage and talks about how we're having a totalitarian society. Jimmy Kimmel gets taken down, and then people are boycotting Disney. Now, I've been talking about this shit for 2.5 years. What are the crazy ones, right? And now mainstream is like, what the fuck is happening? Because, talk show and news, you think late night. And that's a whole dying thing, right? That doesn't even exist anymore. Now it's some guy on a YouTube basement studio with another dude on a podcast. That whole medium is dead. So social media is dead, and TikTok. And I got to say this, you guys. And I got one other thing to say, and then I'll go into the main episode. But I got to warn you, these aren't going to be like quick, tell me what to find out about. Like when I do cosmic alarm clock style like this, it's cosmic alarm clock-ish. It's a long brew, and it's got a brew to brew. And then they'll be like there'll be deep dives, and you can go back later if you want to catch it later. It's not about like you have to get it on an event. It's that event's happening and we're brewing. But the problem is there's so much going on so fast that I want to put this on the mic. And so TikTok is that I will just say, and then I want to bring up one more thing and we'll go into the actual episode, is that, okay, the first episode on this feed, I've mentioned it before, it was Heart versus Hive, and I talked about the social media bullshit. And this was when TikTok was coming up. This is when Reels were coming up. Listen to that episode, it's quick. It is genius. I'm sorry. It was Aquarius full moon. And I was like, this is what's happening. I was like, no one's looking at the bigger picture. No one's saying, why are we having everybody dance to the same dance? Nobody's saying, why are we repeating music? We're getting social media. I'll leave it. I talk about it in the second half, but you get it. It became like a profession. Like, well, I'm going to buy trending music. I'm going to get your weekly email that gives me the trending music. Why don't you stop and think, why are they doing that? So we all become fucking the same. That's the low side of Aquarius. I give a lot of other examples of low side Aquarius. And this is what my guests and I talked about 2 years ago. This is just like fucking dead point on. I could do this profession for like ever, and I would never get old. I would never get tired of this shit because it's so freaking accurate. And all the references I'm going to give in the second half to the episodes I did before last summer when I did my State of the Union part 1, part 2, and everything got, and then I stepped away because I needed to take care of my own stuff. But nothing really happened. I stepped away, and what happened? Pluto went into Aquarius, and then it went backwards. It's like Pluto hasn't even done nothing yet. Pluto's like at 1 degree. The real shit starts in October when it stations at 1 degree. We'll talk about that later. I think I'm bringing that up later. But TikTok, and I talked about how the trending blah blah blah. So I haven't really paid attention to the news. This is a little bit of a quick brew because you're gonna get you have all the news about the actual event of that. But there's been a major change in ownership, and basically like Trump is like our fearless leader is gonna like take that over. And so let's just think bigger about that. Think about the age demographic of the people, primarily the age demographic of the people who literally have that in their ears and their eyes and their pockets as a tracking device. And that is their only source of news, and that is their only source of entertainment, and that is their world. Think about that seed planting. Think about what's happening. Think about the bigger picture of what's going on. And this is going to relate it to what I'm going to say. And then I'm going to talk about I'll jump you into the second half. I lost it. It's going to come back. Oh, one of the prior eclipse episodes, if you guys are a regular listener of mine, I had shared a story. I had shared a story of I worked at this job and there was this moron who became the middle manager. I mean, she's fine, but okay. And then I parted ways, but I stayed in touch with her boss because her boss is the one that I cared about, because I thought, that's the one I wanted to actually was worried about having a relationship with in 20 years. I literally reconnected with her like after 19 years. Like the accuracy of eclipses, you cannot make up. I already talked about that in a prior episode. But the point is I worked at a major cosmetic company. Okay. It begins with an L. Okay. And I worked on a line that was like selling to like girls who are like maybe 13, 15, their first makeup line, their first whatever. And this was back in the day when we didn't have independent brands. Okay. We didn't have, you guys know, if you're old enough, you went to freaking the drugstore, you went to you bought Revlon, Maybelline, whatever, one of these big name companies, you went to CVS, whatever. There's no Walmart, there was no Target, there was no whatever, or you've had money, you'd go to like the counter, like Clinique or whatever. Right. So the point is the reason we did, you have a lower line like that, it's called a cradle to grave strategy. A cradle to grave strategy. Whatever a woman generally or a person starts using, the world is different now. Type of toothpaste, type of deodorant, tampons, makeup, whatever brand they start using at that age, they will historically use it forever. Things have changed now. This was 20 years ago. Why is that relevant? Because Pluto's going to be in Aquarius for the next 20 years. That's why. So we called it a cradle to grave strategy. It sounds pretty morbid, but it's not. It's just that you get the idea. It's very common in consumer goods, cradle to grave. So what do you think's going on here? That's about the age, right? And so that's happening. And I'll say one more thing, and then I'll get into the main meat, which is somebody had said something had happened with Pam Bondi, and I'm not up on news or whatever. And I guess I'm going to have to be more if I'm doing this, which is kind of, annoying, but it's not really, because it used to be that like I didn't want to do mundane astrology because mundane astrology is technically global astrology. And I don't want to be one of those assholes who's like, oh, everything revolves around the US. I mean, my other podcast is listened to in 44 countries. So it's like, I've lived like in multiple continents. Like I don't think of the US as the center of the world. Sorry. I'm not even white. And so like I was like, oh, I don't want to research what's going on in other countries because I got to go into like the dark web and this and that because the news I'm getting isn't real to talk about, what happened from a global perspective. I don't need to go outside the US. This is what everything crazy ass is going on here. I mean, there are some events, but we got enough fucking crazy shit going on here. Right. And if you guys have been listening to my podcast, you know why. US Pluto return, talked about it before, but here's the quick headline is that I went to Google Pam Bondi because I was like, okay, what is she saying that might be, I'm sure if there's something big that happened, it would come up because sometimes people on threads just make up stuff. And this is the point. I'd mentioned, threads, I got this insight. And then the second half, I talk about all these insights that came from a different source. Here we have yet another source. Remember the good old Google? So what comes up is the Miami Herald, which is not a no name. I mean, if you live in Miami, but it's like, I'm not going to read the Miami Herald and no one's talking about the Miami Herald. And the Miami Herald is saying that Bondi files a third federal prosecutor linked to anti-Trump posts. Basically this guy, of course, we're not hearing about this. He was fired on Tuesday, which I believe is yesterday or whatever, because of blog posts he did in 2017 that were anti-Trump. I never heard about this. Did you? I'm not going to read the whole thing, but this is what I'm talking about. You want to hear 1984? Come on. So, I talked about this in Jupiter going in Gemini, right? I talked about the news. And I said that we had this, listen to those episodes. They're all there for you. I said, look, We have this rare configuration where Jupiter's going to be in Gemini for a year, and then Uranus is going to go right in. Boom, bam, boom. So everything that happens with Jupiter and Gemini is going to be preparing us for Uranus and Gemini. And I talked about the news. I talked about a deep dive about the news, and I talked about how Jupiter is also the law, and how everything was coming up with all the cases and the huge cases going on in Boston, and the corruption with judges in Atlanta. And we've just scratched the surface. Who the fuck knows what happened in that Diddy shit? I was talking about the Diddy stuff last July. Who knows what happened with that? We're not going to know. So listen to those episodes. The point is Jupiter is the law, and now Uranus is the internet. So in like a half an hour, I have 5 different sources of information that I got, and I'm recording this on a thing, and I'm going to just upload it, and boom, done. And whoever listens to this, listens to it. And then this is going to get uploaded to my YouTube. And granted, I don't really, that channel is kind of just right there right now. But some people might see it. So the speed of transmission of news these days is insane. It's already what I saw coming, but to just witness it is pretty cool. Because this is just very unique energy, because it's like Uranus is fast air. I mean, Uranus is fixed air, but Uranus is air and the future, and like connections and mycelium and tribe and, secret, whatever. And so I think people are going to find like their own secret TikTok. I think we're going to have underground social media, because now people are like, we don't trust it. We're deleting the app. They're going to be tracking us, blah, blah, blah. I give some other stories about tracking, and this is not conspiracy theory. If you think this is conspiracy theory, you're not paying attention. And that's what I'm saying. It's like now everyone's talking. Now mainstream people are talking. Like, what the fuck's going on? The spiritualists have been saying it for a long time. I don't even want to say spiritualists. It downgrades it, because spiritualists makes it sound like it was just something that fell out of the sky. Aquarius rules astrology. Aquarius is fixed patterns. It's actually mental. Think about how I'm connecting the dots here, the puzzle pieces. By the way, if you listen to my other podcast, you're going to want to remember the word puzzle. That's Aquarius. And it's tribe coming together. And I wonder what's going to happen, because it doesn't feel like, yeah, I'll stop here. But there are a lot of ancient cultures that have this myth of right before the downfall, a fool is sent in, a clown is sent in to highlight and to expedite the downfall, to facilitate the new. And speaking of shedding the old to facilitate the new, there'll be a series of eclipse episodes that I already did that are going to drop. And that is why I do these eclipse readings. That is why I do these readings, because this isn't just a year. This is the countdown to the most epic reset of our lifetime. And if you've been listening to me long enough, you know that I'm dramatic, but I'm not like bombastic dramatic. I don't make statements like that very often, because like this guy with the Miami Herald, everything you say online is history. 2017, he gets fired when he was a private citizen. And so that's why I'm editing the other episode I do. I don't want anything on a mic on YouTube that could be problematic down the line. So you'll always, if you listen to some of my other stuff, I'm very careful about my words, and it slows me down, because this should be channeled, but I think it allows more people to absorb the message, because me at actual speed, you have to be like, I don't know. You have to be someone who's not human to actually understand what I say. So anyway, I hope you enjoyed this. And yeah, we are morphing and pivoting and evolving. If you probably are joining me like, what is this podcast? And it's like, that's what it is. It's societal commentary. It's how astrology is affecting business. It's all of that in a brew. I'll see you for 2 upcoming eclipse episodes. It might be back to back. I might be able to push one. I think I'll push. There's a special Sunday episode I'm going to drop, which you're going to definitely want to know. And I'll drop another one on Monday. And then that's a wrap, because then we're at the end of September. Unless something else like famous last words. It's like, I can't get this out fast enough because there's so much crazy shit happening. I'll see you on the next one.